Hello everybody, I'm Fright from Frightopia and welcome back to yet another video. Today we are talking about people that got taken off of the FBI's most wanted list and were still never caught. So we're not talking about people that died, got captured. We're talking about the people that got taken off the list because there just wasn't enough information about them. They're still getting investigated. They just wanted to put somebody else in the spot. And these people, we just have no clue where they are, except for, I guess, for one person, we do know where they are. We'll get into that, though, so. And yeah, so I went through all, 500 people on the FBI's most wanted list. I think I got everybody. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, once again, like in all of my FBI videos, I am not accusing anybody of anything. Just want to make that clear. So this is just information that is on the web, and I am relaying that information. So yeah, I'm gonna keep this video short. If you enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and check out my Twitter and Patreon as well. And yeah, I'm Fright from Frightopia, and let's get into the video. William Bradford Bishop Jr. William was born August 1st, 1936 in Pasadena, California. He achieved an American Studies degree from Yale, a master's in Italian from Middlebury College, and a master's in African Studies from UCLA. In 1959, he married his high school sweetheart named Annette Weiss, and they had 3 kids together. He also spoke many different languages. He spoke English, Italian, French, and Serbo-Croatian. Because of his unique skill set, he worked for 4 years in counterintelligence for the United States, and after his stint in the Army working counterintelligence, he worked for the United States Department, in which he served in foreign service over in Italy and Africa. And then finally, he started working in Washington, D.C. for the State Department once again, in which he was the assistant chief in the Division of Special Activities and Commercial Treaties, and this was in 1974. So at this time, he started living in Bethesda, Maryland with his wife, his 3 sons, and his mother. So this all started on March 1st, 1976, when he wanted to get a promotion and he got passed over for it, and so he went home saying that he was sick. It is believed that instead of going home, he drove to the bank where he withdrawed $700. It is then believed he went to the Montgomery Mall where he purchased a gas can and a sledgehammer. He then went to a nearby gas station where he filled up his 1974 Chevrolet station wagon as well as the gas can. He finally then drove to a hardware store where he purchased a pitchfork and a shovel. It is then estimated that he returned home around 7:30 or 8 p.m. where he killed his wife with the sledgehammer, and then he killed his mother when she returned home from walking the family dog, and then he killed his sons aged 5, 10, and 14 in their sleep with the sledgehammer. He then drove the bodies 275 miles to a densely wooded swamp somewhere around Columbia, North Carolina, where on March 2nd he dug a small hole where he burnt the bodies with gasoline. This is where the gas can, pitchfork, and shovel were found nearby. He was then known to purchase a pair of tennis shoes from a sporting goods store in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Witnesses said that he had his family dog with him, and there possibly could have been a woman with them as well. They were finally discovered to be missing on March 10th when one of their neighbors was like, hey, we haven't seen this family in over a week, so we might need to call the police about this. The police got there and there was blood all over the place, no bodies or anything, so they're like, okay, well this is interesting. But then they put the pieces together once the dental records of the burnt bodies were used to identify the family. On March 18th, the station wagon was found abandoned in a campsite in Elkmont, Tennessee. In the station wagon, there were dog biscuits, a bloody blanket, shotgun, an axe, a shaving kit, medication, and of course, blood. The police's main theory from after that is that he joined the flow of a bunch of hikers on the Appalachian Trail, and when they used bloodhounds, they couldn't catch a scent of him. Bishop is since wanted by the FBI for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, as well as murder with a blunt object. Since 1976, there have been a few credible sightings. They were all in Europe by people that he's known from all of these, because he's been all over the world. So it's like colleagues and stuff, like they saw him, they think they did at least. And these three places were Stockholm in Sweden, Sorrento in Italy, and Basel in Switzerland. And he's been profiled on many crime shows, going from America's Most Wanted to Unsolved Mysteries. Since this investigation is technically still going, in 2014, authorities stated that he is most likely hidden in plain sight in the United States. And forensics artist Karen Taylor created a age progression sculpture on what he could have looked like in 2014 when he was 77 years old. This is an interesting fact that I found while I was researching this. In March 2021, a 63-year-old woman named Kathy Gilchrist, she took a DNA test and actually found out that Bishop was her father. It turns out that before marrying Annette Weiss, he had a daughter with another person, and she put Kathy up for adoption. So yeah, she found out that her real father killed his family. So the first time he was added to the list was April 10th, 2014 for some reason, and he was considered armed and extremely dangerous without tendencies, and he was finally taken off on June 27th, 2018 to make room for another suspect, Glen Stewart Godwin. Glen was born June 26, 1958 in Miami, Florida. Apparently he did well in school and just kind of seemed like he had a normal life going for him. In 1980, Glen was living in Palm Springs, California, where he was working as a self-employed tool salesman, a mechanic, and a construction worker, and he had no discernible criminal history. This all changed when Godwin and his roommates, Frank Soto Jr., planned to rob a drug dealer named Kim Robert LaValle, who was an old friend of theirs. They led him back to their place where Soto held him down while Godwin beat, strangled, and then stabbed him 26 times with a butcher's knife. They loaded the body into a truck and then drove into the middle of the desert. This truck had a bunch of homemade explosives in it, so that it blew up and it kind of hid the evidence. They obviously didn't do that good of a job because on August 3rd, 1980, some Eagle Mountain residents found a blown up truck with human remains in it, which were quickly identified to be LaValle. They were both quickly caught, and Godwin was given 26 to life, while Soto was given 25 to life, even though he testified against Godwin. Okay, so this is where it starts to get a little crazy. In 1987, Godwin tried to escape Duell Vocational Institute in California, so then he was placed in a high-security prison called Folsom State Prison. In this maximum security prison, somehow a hacksaw and a bunch of other tools were somehow smuggled to him. Authorities believe that his wife, Shelley Rose Godwin, and his former cellmate, Lorenz Karlik, helped plan his escape, like the one that he failed in, as well as this one. So on June 5th, 1987, he cut through some fence wire and escaped into a storm drain in which he crawled through pitch black for 750 feet. And somebody, which is either his wife or his old cellmates, had a raft down at a river for him, and they even painted a bunch of rocks telling him where to go. So, I mean, like, he had this plan planned out. Shelley and Karlik were both arrested for aiding escape, and Karlik eventually committed suicide in 2002. After his escape, Godwin went to Mexico, where he failed in joining like illicit drug trading. He was soon arrested in Puerto Vallarta, where he was sentenced 7 years and 6 months for drug trafficking. When American authorities were working on like his extradition process, he killed a Mexican drug cartel member, and that kind of delayed the process a little bit, which of course gave him time to escape yet again in September 1991. So yeah, they have absolutely no clue where he is, and people think that he's probably somewhere in Latin America in the illegal drug trade. So yeah, apparently they gave us some believed aliases, which is Dennis Harold McWilliams, Nigel Lopez, and Miguel Carrera. He was added on December 7th, 1996, and he was considered armed and extremely dangerous, and of course an obvious flight risk, and then was taken off on May 19th, 2016, when the FBI director stated that we think the payoff from the publicity has diminished over time. Victor Manuel Gerena. Victor was born June 24th, 1958, in New York. His story starts on September 12th, 1983, when he dropped his girlfriend off at the Hartford City Hall to get a marriage license. He worked at like an armored car facility that like worked on the shipments for the Wells Fargo Bank, And when he went into work that day, he removed his co-worker's James McKeon's gun and tied him and their other co-worker, Timothy Gerard, up. So then he injected them with aspirin and water, thinking that it would make them sleepy. It didn't, but yeah, he went off in a truck with $7 million. He got transported to Mexico. He boarded a jet at the Mexico City International Airport and then got off at Havana. He was added on May 14th, 1984. He is believed to be in Cuba and was removed on December 15th, 2016. Robert William Fisher. Fisher was born on April 13th, 1961 in Brooklyn, New York. His parents got divorced when he was 15, and that apparently had some life-lasting effects on him. He moved to Tucson, Arizona with his father and his sister, and had stated to a coworker that if his parents never got divorced and he never had to split up his family, his life would have been a lot different, basically. So yeah, when he grew up, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and tried to become a Navy SEAL, but was not eligible for it. He then worked in California as a firefighter, however, got a back injury and had to retire early. He then moved back to Arizona, where he became a surgical catheter technician, a respiratory therapist, and a weed sprayer. He then married Mary Cooper in 1987. When people described their relationship, they stated that Fisher was cruel and distant and he was very controlling. Fisher was also very upset that his kids didn't share similar interests with them. He liked going fishing, hunting, doing outdoorsy stuff like that. And his son didn't really like it, and his daughter didn't really either. There was a story where they were going on a boat, and he was just like, I'm going to teach you how to swim, and then just kind of tossed her in, and it kind of freaked everybody out, and then his son didn't like doing the hunting and stuff, so I don't know, he wasn't very happy with his family dynamic, I guess. And in an interview with authorities, Jenny Cooper, Mary's mother, stated that Fisher didn't really get to know Mary's family that well because he was too scared to socialize with people and I guess get close and lose people, I guess. He started exhibiting some rather odd behavior when his friends stated they went on a hunting trip, and when he killed an elk, he smeared the blood all over his face, and then he would go up behind families and shoot his gun up in the air to scare them. And apparently he just shot a pit bull, a stray pit bull, and he tried to say that attacked his dog, but the police were yeah dude, you definitely instigated that, he made his dog get in a situation where he'd get attacked so he can shoot the pit bull. So yeah, it's an odd dude, I guess. So yeah, in 1998 he spoke about wanting to commit suicide because of his marriage and the lack of success in it, I guess. He also allegedly had an affair with a prostitute and he was worried that his wife would find out and that would ruin his marriage. Towards whenever his crime thing that we're about to get into happened, Fisher told his friends that he was planning on renewing himself with God and fixing his marriage, but at the same time his wife was telling her friends that she was planning for a divorce. This all took a sharp turn on April 9th, 2001, when at 10 p.m. the neighbors heard arguing at the household once again. It is then believed that he shot his wife in the back of the head and then slit his kids, Bobby and Brittany's, throats. This was believed to happen directly after the argument because Fisher was spotted on an ATM camera when he withdrawed $280 in Mary's Toyota 4Runner. At 8:42 a.m. the next day, his house exploded, and it shook houses from a half-mile radius. Firefighters came quickly and they were able to stop the fire from spreading to other houses, and they quickly found the cause of how that explosion happened. Fisher pulled the gas line from the back of the house's furnace, and in one of the rooms he placed a candle, so he waited for the gas to rise up and then just blow up the house. And his family's remains were found, and investigators believed that he wanted to cause the explosion to make it seem like either he died or it was to hide the evidence. Authorities then found his car on April 20th in Tonto National Forest in Young, Arizona. This is about 100 miles south of Scottsdale where they lived, and the family dog Blue was found underneath the car, and he was quite unhappy because he was kind of hungry and it was hot out, so yeah. They found human feces near the car, as well as the Oakland Raiders hat that he wore in the ATM video nearby the car. They didn't really know where he went after that. There was a lot of caves nearby, so a bunch of like professional climbers kind of theorized that he went into one of the caves, either died, killed himself, or just found a way out and escaped. Some of these cavers, they searched through some of the caves and they didn't find any evidence of him being there, so he probably didn't do that. But yeah, he was added to the top 10 on June 29th, 2002, and was later removed on November 3rd, 2022, because no successful information has been acquired through his addition to the list. And if you are interested in seeing more, a documentary was recently made called Finding Robert Fisher. Arthur Lee Washington Jr. Washington was born on November 30th, 1949, and he was a former member of the Black Liberation Army. On April 12th, 1989, a New Jersey state trooper named Michael J. Clayton stopped a 1979 Ford Thunderbird for having an expired sticker. Washington was the passenger, and he just got up and started walking away. Clayton was telling him to, like, stop, and Washington just kept going. So then Clayton started chasing him. Washington pulled out a gun and fired at him. Clayton returned fire. Nobody got hit, and when Clayton started reloading, Washington just got out of there. So yeah, police searched the department in Asbury Park, and they found like 2 other handguns and a machine gun. But yeah, that's literally it. He shot at a police officer. He didn't even hit anybody. I don't know why that gets you on the list, but I guess, I don't know. In the olden days, it was a lot of like not as major crimes on the most wanted list. It was a lot of like right at the beginning, it was a lot of bank robbers. So I guess they kind of stepped up their criteria since then. But yeah, he was added to the FBI's top 10 on October 18th, 1989, and was removed on December 27th, 2000 for no longer meeting that criteria. And it is generally presumed that he is dead. However, he can still very much be alive. Leo Frederick Burt. Burt was born on April 18th, 1948 in Darby, Pennsylvania. He was enrolled at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and he played on the varsity crew team. He was eventually cut from the team and then kind of like put all of his focus on the school newspaper. At this time, he became very interested in journalism and student politics, and his politics became even more radicalized when he was beat by a police officer in the protest against the Kent State shooting. He, David Fine, and brothers Dwight and Carl Armstrong, who were all on the list at some point, they've just all been captured, so. They made and planted a bomb in Sterling Hall, which blew up and killed Robert Foshnot, a physics professor, and they also injured 3 other people. All in all, the explosion caused $2.1 million in damages to the campus. He was last tracked in Canada and was last seen when he and David Fine were chased from their apartment in Ontario, Canada. He is speculated to be in Ontario, Canada, Lakewood, Washington, or Denver, Colorado. He was added to the top 10 soon after the bombing and then removed in 1976. Semion Mogilevich. Mogilevich is a Russian crime boss who was born to a Jewish family on June 20th, 1946 in Ukraine. His first fortune was made when he scammed a bunch of fellow Soviet Jewish people when they were trying to get out of Ukraine and Russia to most likely Israel. Basically, whatever they couldn't bring with them, he said that he would sell them at like market price, like fair value, and then send them their share, and then he just never sent them their share. For that, he got 7 years in prison, obviously. In the 1980s, however, the FBI believed him to be the main contact for money laundering for the Solsenskia Bratva crime group in Russia. I'm going to give you my fair warning here. There are a few Russian words that I might mess up, that being one of them, but I looked up the pronunciations I'm trying, so maybe I'll get them. In early 1991, he married Godwin Pop and obtained a Hungarian passport through this marriage. He invested in many enterprises, and he lived in a fortified villa outside of Budapest. One of the enterprises he bought was a factory that made anti-aircraft guns called Army Co-op. And in 1994, his group obtained control of Income Bank, one of the largest banks in Russia. This was a Russian private bank, and he made like a connection and like a deal with one of their chairmen, so he basically had access to the world economy, basically. In May of 1995, there was a meeting between Mogilevich and Semion Mogilevich, who was the head of the group we were talking about earlier, and it was raided by Czech police. It was a birthday party for Mogilevich, but he never showed up, and there were 200 people there that got detained. The reason why the police actually got there is because there was word that Mogilevich would be executed at this party, so that's probably why he didn't show up, because he probably heard that too. The reason that was believed that he would have maybe got executed is because there was like some $5 million dispute, so yeah. After that whole fiasco, some countries in the area were like, you know, it might be a good idea if this guy, you know, doesn't come here. So the Czech Interior Ministry placed a 10-year entry ban on him. The Hungarian government stripped his immunity of being arrested, and the UK banned him from the country, saying that he is one of the most dangerous men in the world. So the reason why he is wanted in the United States is because in 1997 and 1998, Canadian journalists uncovered that Mogilevich and other members of the Russian mafia were working behind the scenes of YBM Magnex International Incorporated. Basically, it was a part of the Toronto Stock Exchange, and after the FBI raided the office of YBM in Newtown, Pennsylvania, $1 billion worth of shares just became worthless overnight. So I can kind of see why the United States wouldn't like him that much, but on top of that, Income Bank, before its collapse in 1998, worked with Bank Menentap in participating in a $10 billion money laundering scheme in New York. to make matters worse, Mogilevich was also suspected of participating in large-scale tax fraud by selling untaxed heated oil as highly taxed car fuel. That caused some massive tax losses in some Central European countries, so they're not happy with them either. You would have thought the FBI got their big break on January 24th of 2008 when he was arrested in Moscow for tax evasion. However, he was released, much to the FBI's dismay, a year and a half later, because he got his bail and they considered him not very dangerous in Russia, so they just let him go. On October 22nd, 2009, they named him on the top 10 most wanted, considering him armed and dangerous. But yeah, he basically got taken off in December of 2015 because he's currently living in Moscow, and the USA does not have an extradition treaty with Russia because USA and Russia don't really get along that well. So yeah, he's basically free. We know where he is. Just can't do anything about it. So that's why I had this one at the end. That was kind of, I don't know, really, did that fit the topic of the video? Like, he was taken off the list, never caught. They still want him. Like, there's still an investigation on him. They just can't, I don't know. I'm gonna count it. It's my video. Hey guys, so I actually lied. This is not the last guy. I realized that I forgot to include Jason Derek Brown because I just didn't put him in the script because I already had everything written. So I kind of forgot when I filmed everything. I'm not going to film everything again. I'm just going to put in the clip of me talking about him in my first FBI's Most Wanted video. So if you've already seen that, you can just skip past this to the outro if you want. But yeah, sorry about that. I totally forgot. Jason Derek Brown was born in 1969 in Los Angeles, California. He earned a master's in international business and is fluent in French, and has even served for a mission of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Why is this guy on the top 10 list? Well, let me start from the beginning. Brown owned two businesses called Toys Unlimited and On the Doorstep Advertising, which he ran out of his home in Salt Lake City. He was also employed as a golf importer as well as a toy salesman in order to earn extra cash to support his lavish lifestyle. See, on the outside, he liked to look like a wealthy businessman that owned all these businesses. However, that wasn't the case, and he was actually extremely in debt. This basically leads people to believe that he committed like petty thefts or even like frauds just to get money to keep up this facade. He is not on this list due to these petty thefts or fraud, however. It's because of what he did on November 29th, 2004. On this day, he ambushed Robert Keith Polymerus a armored car guard. Robert was loading an armored car with the weekend deposits of an AMC theater at 4915 East Ray Road in Phoenix, Arizona. When he ambushed him, he shot Palomares, who had no time to defend himself even though he was armed, 5 times in the head with a .45 caliber semi-automatic Glock, which he purchased and learned how to use just that month. Palomares obviously died from his injuries, and Brown rode off with $56,000 on his bicycle. The police used this bicycle to find out that it was Brown who committed the murder due to his fingerprints being on the bike. After being charged with first-degree murder and armed robbery, he fled to Henderson, Nevada, and soon made his way to Los Angeles, Nevada, where he swapped his BMW MC for his black Cadillac Escalade that he had in storage. He then stayed with some relatives in Orange County, California, who he left on December 6, 2004, an hour before FBI agents showed up to arrest him. He then went to San Diego, California, near the border to Mexico, and then up to Portland, Oregon, where he went off the grid, and there has been little sign of him since. His Cadillac was found abandoned in a long-term parking lot at the Portland International Airport, and his brother was also charged for obstruction of justice for deep cleaning Brown's BMW. This case is very interesting because of Brown's quote-unquote surfer dude look and a quote-unquote ability to blend into crowds. The FBI has had over 200 leads in the case, and allegedly one of Sean Penn's stunt doubles were arrested because people believed that he was Brown. Brown was obviously also charged with unlawful flight to avoid persecution and was later added to the top 10 list on December 8th, 2007. There's also allegedly a credible sighting of him in 2008 in Salt Lake City when a fellow missionary of Brown recognized him at a stoplight. Brown made eye contact with him, looked shocked, and then sped off through the red light, so there's a good chance it was him. FBI officials believe that he is still in Salt Lake City to this day due to all of his contacts being there, as well as the fact that for him personally it would be hard for him to change his lifestyle. One theory is that he is living in the Mormon community in Utah with a fake identity with a family that doesn't know his true identity, or even in France, Quebec, or Thailand. Here is the description of Brown given by the FBI, who is considered armed and extremely dangerous. But yeah, that was my video on the top 10 FBI's most wanted people that never got caught. I did leave out one guy because I wasn't sure whether or not to count him. I forgot his name, but they were after him. They never caught him. Like, they were looking for him for a while, and then it turns out, like, they talked to his wife, and they're like, oh yeah, he died, like, 40 years ago. So, like, they know he's dead. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, I want to apologize for taking such a long time between uploads. When you're seeing this video, I'm in the midst of finals week. I have like a little period where I have like free time, so I'm finishing this video up. Winter break's coming along. I'm gonna get some videos out then, and then my next semester is going to be my easiest semester yet. The reason why I didn't post that much is because, or last semester, this semester, I didn't post that much is because this was my busiest semester of all my college, which came at a very unfortunate time when I'm doing YouTube. Well, whatever, you know, that's life for you. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry for being gone so long. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, because that really helps out a lot. And if you're interested, check out my Twitter, check out my Patreon. If you want to be, I don't know, where will they be? In my heads. So it'll probably be, yeah, next to these beautiful people. It helps me out a lot. Alright, as always, I'm Fred from Fredtopia, and thank you for watching.